Yes, the recording is in progress, meaning we are going to get started just right on Berkeley time today. So it's so lovely to see you all in this space. Be great for folks to be introducing themselves in the room, in the chat. Just tell us a little bit about you, your name, your pronouns, if you'd like. Also a little bit about where you're coming from today, what department on campus, or if you're coming from a different part of the world, that'd be awesome to know as well. And we'll start off with our land acknowledgement in just a few moments, but just wanted to briefly introduce myself. I'm Colin Gerker-Jinsei. I use him pronouns. I'm the Senior Talent Strategy Partner here in Berkeley People and Culture. And I'm actually reporting in today from beautiful University Hall on the first floor. So if anybody's around, knock on this window over here and I'll say what's up. Also wanted to recognize Isela Pena-Reger, who's in the room today, who is our wonderful co-chair, who is along with us for this wonderful Cal Coaching Network journey. And a big, big thanks to our Cal Coaching Network leadership team. We have about 10 people on our team who are working to build coaching skills and coaching culture and expand coaching access on campus. And we cannot do this on an island. You all have created a beautiful archipelago in which we all are supportive of one another in transforming this campus, okay? So with all of that, I'm gonna go ahead and start us off. We have the wonderful career and professional development lead today with us, Lisa Reichert, and we have the amazing Ying Kwa, who is the people and organization development lead with us today. And Lisa's going to be taking us through the top 10 coaching trends, as well as some 10 resources around coaching that are trending and could be helpful for you in your growth on campus. And Ying is going to be our wonderful moderator for the conversation and leading the discussion. Really a fireside chat without the fireplace. I don't know, Lisa, do you have a fireplace going right now? I don't know.
No, I don't.
Okay.
I have a fan going.
A fan side chat. That's
Yeah.
wonderful. And Ying just threw up her fireplace.
Okay.
It's
All
the
right, we have
holidays where
one.
Ying's coming from. I love it. I love it. All right, cool. But before we jump in, first wanted to just say thank you so much for your time and for being with us. We know that there are many things that you could be doing instead of being with us in Cal Coaching Network. So we thank you for building community in this space together. And we also thank many of you for showing up for our Now Conference presentation on becoming a change maker. So thinking about the UC framework around anti-racism and connecting that in a coaching context. I was with some leaders in Haas yesterday who are interested in piloting the training with their managers and leaders. If you're in this room, I'm sharing some light accountability to move that forward by speaking it into existence. But if you're interested in working with us, please do reach out to Isela and I. We are happy to customize that training for your team. We don't have another session on the books right now in Cal Coaching Network, but right now we're working behind the scenes to develop a session on appreciative inquiry at the intersection of coaching. And I just came from facilitating a retreat on with AI as the framework, so that was fun. And we're also working on a session particularly related to exploring coaching career pathways. So for folks who are looking to have career pathways sort of as a side gig for their main role, maybe at Berkeley or wherever you're going in your career, are folks who are looking also to make a side move into coaching full-time, looking at ICF certifications, ACC, folks who have come from LISW spaces or PCC spaces, career coaching, career counseling, etc. So more to come, and stay tuned. If you're interested in facilitation in Cal Coaching Network in the future, we are interested in hearing about you and your ideas. If you're interested in leadership in the Cal Coaching Network, you can privately chat myself or Isela today, or email us on campus, and we are happy to connect. All right, so that is sort of our setting the table moment for our session today. And I'll go ahead with our land acknowledgement. We in Cal Coaching Network recognize that UC Berkeley sits on the territory of the Huichin ancestral unceded land of the Chochenyo-speaking Ohlone people, the successors of the sovereign Verona Band of Alameda County. This land was and continues to be of great importance for the Muwekma Ohlone tribe and other familial descendants of the Verona Band. We recognize that every single member, everyone in this room of the UC Berkeley community continues to and benefits from the use and occupation of this land since the institution's founding in 1868. Consistent with our values of community, inclusion, diversity, I must say justice today, we have a responsibility to acknowledge and make visible the university's relationship to the Native peoples. It is vitally important that we not only recognize the history of the land in which we stand and situate, but also we recognize that the Ohlone people are alive and flourishing members of the Berkeley and broader Bay Area communities today. You can read more about this land acknowledgement on the Center for Educational Justice and Community Engagement website, linked in the chat right now. So with all that to say, I want to thank you all so much again for joining us. And with that, I will pass it over to Lisa and Ying, who will lead us in our conversation. You'll also be receiving a companion guide for today's wonderful coaching trends conversation. So we want to make sure that you have a chance to open that. I'll chat to you a few times with that material. You will have to make a copy or download in order for you to edit it yourself. So please don't click the request access button because it is preemptively denied. Sure that you're logged into a Google account. With that, we thank you so much. Lisa and Ying, the floor is yours. And thanks so much for all that you have done to bring us to today's conversation. We appreciate you and your facilitation.
Thank you, Colin. I'm loving the energy. You're like giving me a little boost here. So thank you. Hi, everybody. I am so excited to introduce my friend and colleague. I know Colin introduced us a little bit, but I want to give a more detailed introduction to Lisa Riker because we have so fortunate to have her share her insight with us today into the current coaching trend. So Lisa is the career and professional development lead on our POD team. So our POD team stands for People and Organizational Development, which she joined in 2019. So her focus in this role is to manage programs that support career growth and mobility for 8,500 plus UC Berkeley staff. Those programs include co-chairing the NOW conference with me, that hopefully some of you did participate or saw some parts of it. She also have planning and facilitating staff career development workshops, managing the staff fellowship program, serving as the MSAP, which is Management Skills Assessment Program, as the UC Berkeley campus location coordinator for this system-wide program. She also manages the year-round one-on-one confidential career coaching offerings for staff and serving as one of the career coaches along with Linda Lumberg. As Lisa liked to say, this is her second life here at UC Berkeley. So she worked here previously from 2002 to 2009 in the HR and administrative management roles. And during the budget crisis period in 2009, she opted to take a voluntary layoff to focus on her career goal to become a life and career coach, which she achieved that goal. She became a certified coach and had her own coaching practice for 10 years. So Lisa, you have been coaching for quite a while now, over 10 years. What have you noticed about the field of coaching and impact over the last decade?
Hi, Ying. Thank you. Thank you for the kind introduction. And I want to say hi to everybody. And it's a treat to have this conversation with you, Ying. And you're one of the founders of CCN and a former co-chair of CCN and my pod peep. And I want to thank our current co-chairs, Colin and Isela, for inviting me here to share with CCN members today. And what I have noticed as a coach over the last 10 plus years is that, and what's very exciting to me, is that coaching is now recognized across organizations as a very critical tool to support a high-performing, engaged, and healthier workplace culture. And 10 years ago, it was pretty rare for organizations to offer coaching to anyone other than their senior executives. And there was also a time where coaching was used primarily with employees in general, but as part of the disciplinary process to address poor performance. And things have definitely shifted, and there's much data that shows the benefits of coaching across organizations today. But thinking a little over 10 years ago, in 2011, there was a study by PwC, PricewaterhouseCoopers, that concluded that the average return on investment for companies investing in coaching, or executive coaching more so at that time, was 7 times the initial investment. So that's a pretty good return. And at that time, spending on coaching in organizations was $1 billion annually, their spend on coaching. Compare that to 2020, where coaching has nearly tripled to a $2.85 billion industry. So according also to ICF, there are approximately now 71,000 coaching practitioners. So people that identify as, professional coaches practicing coaching regularly. That was in 2019. And according to responses, 78% of LinkedIn 2022 top companies in the US say that they are investing in coaching for their employees across the organization, with a focus on everything from general well-being to leadership diversity coaching. So as employers they're investing in their employees' growth, coaching services are fast becoming a key part in that effort. And that's very exciting. And many companies, they also invest in coaching to support employees in transition. So employees who are experiencing layoffs, have a more positive experience as possible to support their transition to their next chapter in their lives, or to land their next job faster. So organizations are now willing to invest resources, time, money, staffing, and care and concern for even the future of their employees or former employees, and are integrating coaching into many of their organizational practices. And that's an exciting win-win for organizations and for employees.
Wow, thank you, Lisa. That's an evolution almost of coaching in just a little 10 years. I mean, that's a huge growth. And I'm just thinking myself, 10 years ago, I was still confused about, well, coaching, mentoring, are they the same thing, or are they the same thing? And, now I'm also a certified coach, certified Korn Ferry leadership coach, and I'm also thinking of pursuing, you mentioned into ICF earlier, and that's International Coach Federation. I also want to get credential from them. So, and I especially kind of see this at UC Berkeley too. I mean, I feel very fortunate to be in an organization that is committed to coaching and growing that coaching culture. As some of you probably heard of, we speak of a coaching culture here at CCN and also at People Culture. I feel like we kind of see this growth of coaching here at Berkeley too. 10 years ago, coaching for staff was not a mainstream thing. I mean, maybe some senior leaders work with external coaches for their development, if their budget existed for them to do so. And there may have been some limited offerings of career counseling, which is a little bit different than career coaching, right? But there was some offerings for staff to support their career next steps. And we had Terry Moore, which is your predecessor, coming from UHS, that's University Health Services, to People and Culture, and have transitioned the limited career counseling offering into this ongoing, unlimited career coaching offering that exists today, that you lead, and also coaching along with Linda. So, I mean, even the NOW conference, we just had our 2022 NOW conference, but back in 2012, NOW conference was developed, and we had what's called a Coach's Corner, right? Back then, Coach's Corner was born, and we were able to offer, career coaching as part of the conference. But it was really a corner. I remember the coaches were like, they were in the corner of a room, and there were like 2 to 4 coaches. So the seating was very limited, and we weren't able to offer a whole lot, which hence the name Coach's Corner. But this year, 2022, 10 years later, thank you to our very own Colin Gurkha-Jungse here. Coach's Corner expanded exponentially and grow into coaching headquarters now, right? We're now having Coach HQ with close to 300 one-on-one coaching appointments this year, 16 group coaching sessions. That includes peer coaching and coaching circles. And we had 2 coaching workshops. I mean, like I really feel like we have expanded coaching access at this year's conference. Additionally, in 2018, we had a workshop on coaching born, growing as a coach. And it's, I think today, the most taken Berkeley People Management course, most taken for our people leaders on campus. And also we had our performance management program that got transformed into Achieve Together, which began in April of 2020, which is grounded in a coaching culture with a coaching framework for checking conversations between managers and staff. And that kind of came out together with Growing as a Coach so that we can equip our managers with skills to have that conversation in a coaching approach. And today we also offer, programs like executive coaching program for people leaders on campus, and then the equity-oriented advising and coaching program, EOAC, for advising and student service staff. So, and let's not forget about Cal Coaching Network, which started in December of 2019 with a mission to grow and nurture the UC Berkeley coaching culture and community through knowledge, tools, skill practice, and an equity-oriented mindset. So it seems like we as Berkeley, our organization also came a long way. So as leaders and employees recognize the value and benefit of coaching, which is like proven, there's so much data out there, right, to prove that, hey, coaching works. So I'm just curious, more and more people know about coaching, are hungry for coaching. What would you say that is the biggest or the fastest coming trend out there right now?
Yeah, thanks, Ying. And I will share some more trends that I see. And I just want to say, I think it's fabulous how many resources that Berkeley offers. I think that Berkeley is a trendsetter, and especially across our UC system with all of the resources that we offer for growing a coaching culture. And I also want to share, like, my first experience, like formal experience with coaching here at UC Berkeley, was at the NOW conference when I had my own coaching business, and I was invited to speak at NOW and be one of the coaches in Coach's Corner. And it's really fun to see the growth and progression, and how that was one of the seeds of coaching that helped expand coaching across campus and give so many staff an opportunity to engage in coaching. And it's so cool to see so many faces here that are part of our Coaches Corner and now coaching headquarters over the years and this year. So thanks to all of you who have engaged as coaches and who have engaged in coaching. And just, in thinking about some of the trends that are happening, and according to ICF, one of, the fastest growing trends in coaching right now is team coaching. And team coaching, it enables teams to perform and build their capability to learn to work together and manage collaborations while staying focused on expectations of leaders and groups and our clients and our stakeholders. And to quote David Clutterbuck, who is the author of Coaching the Team at Work, he states that team coaching is not just about performance, it's also about capability, the ability of the team to perform in the future by growing and adapting to changes in our environment. And here's something that's fascinating. According to Gartner's top predictions for 2022 and beyond, by 2024, 30% of corporate teams will be without a boss due to the self-directed and hybrid nature of work. That's only 2 years away, 2024. And, it's really interesting to pay attention to these trends, team coaching, and how our organizations are flattening, and how much collaboration is a part of the work that we do. So I think these are some very interesting trends to be aware of. And some other cool trends that I learned when I attended the ICF, the International Coaching Federation International Conference last October, include these trends. So coaching for performance is becoming much more popular and in demand. So performance coaches. And so you can think of, coaches like similar to sports coaches who are helping individuals think about their goals to achieve their best, to really continue to develop their strengths or to assess some gaps and build upon some of those gaps between where they are and where they want to be in their performance or their goals. You can also think, performance coach. I think about Wendy Rhodes from the series Billions on Showtime, a performance coach who was helping those hedge fund managers, continue to outperform themselves time after time. And then two of my favorites include, as trends that are happening around coaching, include coaching in nature and coaching while walking. And so just 25 minutes in nature can increase our creative process. And so think of the implications for that, like coaching in nature, where we're out, we're getting fresh air, we are, have this feeling of awe, we're at more ease, we're relaxed, and it can help us access our own inner wisdom when we're in a more creative process. And similarly, coaching while walking. And you could be coaching while walking either together or separately. So coaching while walking and talking to your coach, on the phone, or coaching and walking together. And some coaches have expressed that there's more a sense of ease and even equality while walking next to each other and having a coaching conversation. And then, of course, using coaching technology, coaching apps, AI, and AI, I mean, in this instance, in this reference, artificial intelligence and VR, virtual reality, and then coaching to support individual and organizational commitments to DEIBJ, diversity, equity, inclusion, belonging, and justice. So those are some of the trends.
That sounds, I can just imagine. I'm pretty interested actually in coaching in nature. That just sounds very relaxing, and we can get more in tune with our body, our emotions, and like access things that we don't usually access. That sounds really amazing. And DEIBJ, speaking of it, is actually one of Cal Coaching Network's top priority focus areas on our strategic plan that came out not too long ago. And having that equity-oriented coaching mindset is part of Cal Coaching Network's mission, which I read earlier. So in fact, some folks also in this space might have heard of or may be participating or may have involved in the creation of the equity-oriented advising and coaching program, which is that 8-month program designed for UC Berkeley advising and student services staff, which was created in collaboration with the advising strategy and training team and Cal Coaching Network and student service experts from all over the campus. And they're in their first cohort and nearing the ending portion. And we, the CCN, also hope to take some of that learning and create a staff-facing version of the equity-oriented program, coaching program, that it's going to help us not only to grow as coaches, but also coaching with that equity-oriented mindset to further our commitment and our, just mission of the DEIBJ priority.
Yeah, well, I love that, Ying. And coaching focused on DEIBJ supports creating a diverse and inclusive workforce and can help coachees increase their reflective space to become more aware of unconscious biases. And this awareness can empower employees to comprehend negative feelings associated with exclusion, while also providing psychological room to process and understand our complex organizational and societal landscape. And coaching with a DEIBJ focus is a very effective way to achieve some long-lasting behavioral change for inclusive behaviors. And I think one example of how we do that here at UC Berkeley is through our Achieve Together conversations, where we use a coaching framework for our check-in conversations. And one of those suggested questions for our managers to ask during those check-in conversations is, how have you fostered diversity, equity, inclusion, and or belonging on your team or our team or on campus? So this is a regular way to be self-reflective, engage, and think about what actions we can take. And according to a couple of recent studies related to how coaching supports DEIBJ, 91% of coachees increased their self-reflection and awareness, and 79% of coachees increased or saw behavioral change after 6 months of coaching. So that's according to a study by Coach Hub done in 2020. And there are sources linked in the companion guide to the data that we're sharing. And additionally, 56% increased their job performance for employees. They increased their job performance and felt a stronger sense of belonging.
That is some compelling data, Lisa, to underscore that coaching can be an effective tool to support DEIBJ at the individual level, but also at the organization levels. So, seeing kind of how coaching now has became not just something that it's a luxury, right? Only the executive gets, and only, if budget allows and all that. Seeing that how it's kind of being more and more normalized and more accessible. And we are in the pandemic, kind of still. What effect has that had on the opportunity to be able to engage in coaching, given that people are working from home and, it's just a new normal now?
Yeah, well, the pandemic and the many associated stressors taking place are creating an awareness of the effects of ongoing stress, uncertainty, and the importance of stress management and self-care and wellness and building resilience. And as many of us worked or still working remotely or through hybrid formats, coaching webinars and online training and virtual coaching is emerging as in the coaching industry trends that and they continue to strengthen and have strengthened over the last few years. And so 91% of coachees have increased their sense of purpose after virtual coaching. So, some have, wondered, well, is virtual coaching or using technology as effective as in person? And I think some of the data is showing that, and that virtual coaching also increases accessibility. It's more efficient for a coach and a client to be able to find the time to hop onto a virtual coaching appointment. And it creates higher levels of flexibility. It makes coaching much more broadly available and less costly. And there are going to be more virtual reality and augmented reality experiences delivered. And one example I just read about is this company called Mersion. And they have set up coaching where you access coaching through this web platform and the avatar. So there's a real person coaching, but they set it up where you as the client are speaking to an avatar while the real coach is behind that avatar. And for some reason, with this audience and their focus group studies, their clients have found it easier to talk to an avatar than a coach. So they had stated that they felt that they could reach a level of psychological safety easier with an avatar versus a person. So that's some interesting data. And in fact, one of our campus partners, our vendor, the Ken Blanchard Company, we work with them to do to help us with some content for some of our BPM workshops, one of them being our Building Trust workshop. And they have invited us to beta test a virtual reality tool that they will be incorporating into our Building Trust workshop. And it involves engaging in coaching conversations with an avatar who will serve as a hypothetical direct report, and you will play the role of a manager, and you will talk to this avatar around this hypothetical conversation and help them build trust. So pretty cool stuff.
That's fascinating. Wow. And how awesome would it be if a manager does get to kind of practice those conversations with an avatar to prepare for their real conversation that's going to have for an employee. That's amazing. And, thinking about managers can really benefit from both giving and receiving coaching. Here at Berkeley, we are also kind of trying to equip our people leaders with coaching workshops like the Growing as a Coach class that we mentioned earlier, to learn those fundamental coaching skills to use in any performance conversation or any their management conversations with their employees. And we also have the Berkeley People Management Executive Coaching Program that Colin and I co-lead, which provides the participant with 6 months of unlimited coaching from ICF certified coaches from our vendor partner BetterUp. So, we have all these resources for managers to create, further this effort of creating a coaching culture and expanding coaching access. So what about the employee? So what do they need? What do they need to be aware of or to grow in this area?
Yeah, well, being involved with CCN is one excellent way to grow coaching skills, Ying, and that's great that there are so many people here today doing that. And CCN just provides the space to learn about coaching, to practice coaching, to be coached. So I think just continuing to engage in CCN is one way. And there's so many ways, and we're going to talk about a lot of coaching resources, and a few other ways that I can think of that help me personally to grow as a coach include to continue my professional development around coaching by attending coaching conferences and coaching workshops, including those offered by CCN, and to work regularly with a coach, even different coaches, which I do with my coaching colleagues. It's really nice that I get to do peer coaching with a lot of the coaches that I've known over the years, and we contact each other, say, hey, we need some coaching support on something. And it's really great to be able to do that. And the experience of being coached, being the coachee, when I am the coachee, it really reminds me of things that make coaching most effective for me, the kind of coach that I continue to aspire to be when I'm experiencing like really effective coaching. And it builds my coachability skills to be able to work with a thought partner and be able to be asked and think about some powerful questions and have some accountability on my action items that support my goals. And again, another way that we all get to practice being coachable at least 3 times a year is through our Achieve Together check-in conversations with our managers. And this is an opportunity for us to respond to, again, open-ended questions about our own career accomplishments, our professional development goals, our commitments, and our actions related to supporting an inclusive environment of belonging, and to really think about, what goals do I have? And this happens 3 times a year. So there's that ongoing accountability through a coaching framework. And then keeping in mind that this practice of coaching as well as coachability is a key skill for employee success. It's a key skill to support advancement. And 70% of coachees report that coaching improved also their work-life balance. So there are so many ways to support staff with growing their coaching skills, and we put together a list of 10 UC Berkeley offered resources to support you to 10x your coaching. And this list, along with the links, is included in the companion guide on page 4. And we've discussed several of these today, and I want to just point out a few additional details about some of these offerings. So if you look at page 4 on that list, of course, yes, CCN, when we talked about BPM coaching, growing as a coach, career coaching, which is short-term, one-on-one confidential career coaching through 45-minute appointments that we offer. And Linda Lundberg and I are the two current campus career coaches. And we did a survey. We did our first ever survey of the career coaching services for that service that's been offered on campus. And the respondents of that survey, we had a 39% response rate, which is pretty decent. And from those responses, as a result of a few coaching sessions, 77% felt better equipped to take action in their career as a result of short-term coaching, and 64% felt better equipped to pursue job opportunities. And then some other resources include staff fellowships. And one exciting fellowship that is coming soon, Colin talked about, how can we all get involved and, coaching, serving as coaches, and there are going to be some offerings through CCN. And so I am going to create a staff fellowship program to expand the team of coaches that offers one-on-one coaching. So we will be looking for staff who want to grow their coaching skills and do have some training and background in advising and coaching to be part of that fellowship. And we're going to make it easy to be part of in short term. So that's another way to grow coaching skills. And of course, we mentioned Achieve Together check-ins. There's also the BSA mentorship program. And Ying, you mentioned earlier, like trying to understand what is the real difference between coaching and mentorship. And there are some distinct differences where, a mentor is there to share some wisdom, advice, and guidance. And a coach is really there to be your thought partner and provide like the space to listen and draw out your own answers from asking a few open-ended, powerful questions related to what the coachee wants to focus on. However, even through the mentorship program, it's a really great way to use a coaching framework for mentors to engage in some coaching related questions and support of their mentees, and for mentees to even think about what kinds of goals do they want to focus on, and to ask for the kind of support they'd like from their mentor. And then, of course, we have staff organizations. That's a great way to get involved and, to think about working together as teams and how can we use the team coaching approach in being involved in leadership and support roles within staff organizations. And then we have the NOW conference, and there are some fabulous archived sessions on coaching. I believe Colin is one of the presenters for a few of those, and hopefully we will have the other two coaching related sessions from this year's NOW conference posted on our website also soon. And then there's LinkedIn Learning. So LinkedIn Learning you can explore, just type in, the word coaching or coaching for career development or coaching for managers. So there are all kinds of just in time 24/7 access resources on the topic of coaching from LinkedIn Learning. So these are some of the many resources that support growing a coaching culture at Berkeley that can help you 10x your coaching skills. And I'm curious if anybody here has some coaching related resources that you'd like to suggest. So please share them in the chat or unmute yourself.
I personally love, I'm subscribed to, it's a company called the Coaching Tools Company. And they have a lot of free coaching tools like forms, not just form, but like little prompting questions that I'm subscribed to that I absolutely love. They have a lot of great stuff coming out in their newsletters. And I originally signed up to them because I was Googling powerful questions, and a result came out to say like it's a big number to like 300 something powerful questions, and it's like a whole list and all these questions that you can use in different situations. And so of course, to download their material, you got to subscribe to them, right? But then I found they actually have a lot of great stuff. So if anybody want to subscribe to them, I highly recommend that one. Well, Lisa, thank you. I mean, I can see how coaching is really becoming a norm and a necessity for people in all spheres to use the skills. And we, CCN, like we believe everybody can coach, or at least use a coaching approach in conversations. So people in all spheres will recognize they're facing hard challenges, which they're unprepared to solve on their own, and they need that support of a coach. They will look for help, and the demand for coaches, it's going to increase, right? It's going to get more and more bigger. It's, last 10 years is what it was, a huge bloom. I mean, it blew up a little bit, but now I think it's going to be just even more. It will become a necessity, not just a luxury, like, years ago. And no longer the benefit of coaching is limited to senior leaders at the top of our organization. It should be to everybody in the organization and all levels. And actions that we can take ourselves is that we can all learn to grow as coaches, to learn those fundamental skills and to practice. I think all those resources are great to experience it, but I think for us to get better at coaching is we got to do it. We got to just practice. We practice with each other. There's opportunities in CCN. There are also opportunities like if a group of interested people can get together and form a little coaching circle, like what you said with your peers, to have that peer coaching, that support. Not only we're learning coaching, together, but also we're kind of helping each other resolve their own issues at their work lives. So we can coach one another. Maybe we can coach ourselves and kind of start building like that coaching culture that we've been talking about, making it like a norm. So thank you, Lisa. I mean, just thank you for all your insights that you have shared with us today. I'm curious if there are any last recommendations or tips.
Yeah, thanks, Ying. And I would say that the biggest thing that we can all do to increase our coaching skills is just to practice coaching, as you said, like with your peers, with your team, with your manager, and yes, even with yourself. I think, that's going to be a growing trend too, is, using the skills that we have learned to be our own coaches and to find your inner coach. And, instead of listening to the gremlin or the inner critic, which comes up so easily, they're always there to have a conversation with us, right? But invite conversations with your inner coach. And, ways to do this and supporting others and yourself include just taking time to pause, set an intention that, I'm gonna use some coaching skills today with myself and with others. And it's so fun to try to practice some coaching skills, even with your, your family members or your partner or friend. Just simply I'm going to set the intention to really listen. I'm going to practice my listening skills. I'm not going to try to have the answers or solve anything. I'm going to really listen. Or I'm going to practice a skill of listening and saying, tell me more. What else? And you could just have fun practicing. And so being comfortable with silence, listening fully, deeply, with openness and curiosity, and seeing that person as totally capable and whole, able to solve their own problems, reflecting what you're hearing, asking, pick one powerful open-ended question and practice that to help that person generate their own answers, and just meet them where they are to support their vision, or next steps. And I would like to wrap up by sharing a quote from Titilayo Akisanya, who is the president of ICF, or International Coaching Federation, the Nigeria chapter. And Titi says, coaching is a universal language of change and learning. You will not only learn about how to coach others, but you will also learn to self-coach. Coaching is a journey to self-awareness that focuses on people and results.
That's beautiful. Thank you, Lisa. I think we have a couple of extra, 10 minutes for Q&A. If anybody had any, I wasn't really I didn't see any questions yet. Colin or Nisela, did you pick up any?
I did see just some suggestions about the podcast. I wasn't sure if that was mentioned already. And then there's a link to the coachingtoolscompany.com that Ying turned me on to. I also received their things, so I appreciate that.
Laura mentions Coaches Rising podcast. Yeah, thank you for that. Yeah, so we have a little bit extra time for us to, if you have any additional questions that or just curiosities that you would like Lisa to share. Otherwise, we thank you for being here.
I love that Yesenia shared earlier that she was in her garden working on her cilantro while listening. So talk about being out in nature, like in your own backyard. I love that. Thanks for sharing that, Yesenia.
Getting a lot of love in the chat from folks who have been with us for our engaging and inspiring conversation about coaching trends in 2022. We do want to invite you to scroll up just a little bit so that you can get the link to our very outrageously quick survey in which we want to hear from you on our effectiveness of the session today, as well as what you liked, what you learned, and what you'd like to see more of in the future. We'll pause here just to kind of hang out for any of those lingering final questions. But with that, just want to also just extend our gratitude to Ying and to Lisa for bringing us through this journey of learning and change together, and for grounding our work for the months and years to come. So with that, you'll be hearing more from Cal Coaching Network. One thing I want to share with you all about the network is, you know, while we don't have our sessions on the books right now, and then we'll be putting those in the books related to appreciative inquiry, not artificial intelligence, a different AI, and also our program panel on exploring coaching career pathways. We also want to remind folks that have been along with us that we went through our strategic planning process, and we've also been focusing in on building a sub network of professional coaches on campus. So when we're talking about, you know, CCN, it's coaching for everybody, coaching at all levels of the organization, depending on where you sit within the enterprise. And we want to do more work to support the community and professional development and growth and belonging of our professional coaches, of which there are around 60 career services advisors on campus who are in programmatic and coaching roles. So you'll be hearing from us shortly to do some exploration to design what that could look like and to dream big around supporting that community. The other thing that we're going to be focusing on is creating some cohorts around peer coaching for sustainability around that within our space. So more to come, and please stay tuned. This is extra for a lot of our folks who are in our leadership team, so we appreciate your patience. We also appreciate your intentionality to building something very new and transformative over the last few years together. With that, we'll probably put a bookmark in our conversation today. We'll stop the recording. Again, thank you so much, Lisa Reichert, our career and professional development lead in people and organization development, for being with us today and sharing Coaching Trends 2022, and for Ying for facilitating our wonderful conversation, our people and organization development lead. Yeah, Isaac, what question do you have?
Isaac mentioned wanted to learn a little bit more about coaching apps. So one of the coaching app that I know of, so our vendor BetterUp, they have all the coaching done virtually, and there is an application where, you know, basically the coach, you get to choose their own coaches, a variety of, there's a library of coaches that people can choose from and match to, and they book their own sessions. All the communication can be happen online, and so it's just a very simple platform, and our folks can from the coaching executive coaching program can, you know, speak to that experience. But that's one of the app that I know of that works both on the computer and the mobile platform. Curious if Lisa, you have any other coaching apps?
I would have to just like Google it and see, you know, what are the top ones. Though, like, there's an app that comes to mind that I think includes coaching. So it's Calm, the Calm app, which has meditation and mindfulness and stories and music for sleeping and wellness. And I believe they are also offering some coaching. I believe Headspace also offers some coaching, but you could just Google coaching apps and see which ones are out there. If any of you have Kaiser for your healthcare provider, the Calm app is provided for free, the entire suite, not just the free part of the app, but all services. So you could check that out and explore the kind of coaching support that is on there. So yeah, I'm not that familiar with a lot of the latest coaching apps.
Andrew, did you want to share anything? Go ahead, Lisa.
I'm partial to one-on-one
People?
or, live coaching, since that's what I am right now. I will say that regarding coaching and technology, Josh Bersin, who is part of WBEX, which is a coaching platform training company, does a lot of research and was talking about the impact of technology, making virtual coaching more accessible, and talking about the AI. So using virtual reality to increase accessibility, and to be in a room together for coaching. And there were some questions raised by coaches when he was speaking. Does that mean that AI is going to replace, real life coaches? And he said, no, there's still a lot of research out there. While apps are, very effective and supplemental, people still really benefit and value a conversation with another live human, even if it's with an avatar or through an avatar. So there's a lot of still value in that. So sorry to cut you off, Colin. I will let you continue.
Yeah, I was just going to say there's also an app out there called, I think it's Replica, and it's a pay-for service, and you get to decide what type of relationship you have with the AI. That's a whole different conversation. But one of them can be around coaching. And I'm not going to call it full tilt AI. I'm going to call it predictive scripting, which is a form of artificial intelligence, but it's taking the millions of data points they have from their users and coming up with the best ways of being coaches as a bot. But folks, if you were on AOL Instant Messenger, you had Smarter Child on your friend list, which was a bot in the late 90s. Early 2000s. So this isn't the newest of thing, but at the same time, it's like, some people do want to talk to a machine compared to an avatar, compared to a real human being. So Andrew, did you want to mention anything about Growth Day? And then Isaac, we want to make sure to pull you in here before we tap out.
I'll throw a link in the chat about Growth Day if y'all are interested in that.
Thank you so much, Andrew. Appreciate you being here. Yeah, Isaac, anything that you wanted to follow up on?
Yeah, the only thing I wanted to say is that I'm glad to hear that that we don't know about apps that are good. I also am partial to doing things in person, even if it is on Zoom. So I'm glad that we're not there yet. I hope we don't get there too quickly.
Yeah, Dione has a question in there. Is there anything to be concerned about machine enhancing, replacing human interaction? So some of the things that you were sharing earlier, Lisa, but for us as an institution that is old as the dawn of time, I don't think that we would be the first to jump, but maybe we have some folks on campus who are researching that and how it shows up in the industrial world. But maybe 5 years from now or less, we'd want to test something out if it was a valuable consideration. Also, I think we want to lean on people first. Being in people and culture, we're not AI and culture yet. No robo HR right now, but we have some bots operating on campus. So, the future is now. I just want to thank everybody so much for their time. We're just at 2 o'clock here. We are going to hang out just for a few moments, but for folks who got to jet to their next thing, peace be upon you and have a wonderful rest of your day. But we're going to go ahead and stop the recording now so we can have the conversation after the conversation. And thanks again, Lisa and Ying, and for everybody for joining us. And we'll see you again next time. Stay tuned for more information from CCN.